White just confirmed the historic UFC White House card will feature only 6 fights due to the limited South Lawn capacity, but he's actively looking to add one more bout to round it out. During a conversation with Piers Morgan, Piers floated the idea that the surprise edition could be Conor McGregor.
The word is your surprise edition may be Conor McGregor.
Interesting.
Dana responded with an intriguing, interesting, leaving the door open without confirming or denying anything. This keeps the speculation alive around Conor's long-awaited return, especially after recent reports shifted his timeline more toward International Fight Week in July rather than the White House show. White also addressed recent rumors of tension with heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall. Tom and his father had publicly suggested Dana had knocked or disrespected him, but the boss made it clear that's not the case at all. He said he likes Tom very much, has never had a problem with him, and absolutely would not knock him in any way. Dana emphasized he wants to keep working with Aspinall and debunked any talk of him leaving the UFC, stressing there's no bad blood and he's eager to see Tom back in action once his eye injuries heal.
Obviously, he was your heavyweight champion. He's recovering from double eye surgery.
He is my heavyweight champion.
He is your heavyweight champion, right?
Yeah, the company has talked to him. I haven't talked to him, and Tom and I obviously need to talk. You know, he came out recently, or his dad too, saying that, you know, that I had sort of shit on him, which was absolutely positively not the case. Tom Aspinall is a guy that I respect. He's been great, you know, to work with, you know, the whole time he's been here in the UFC. And, you know, never once did I question his injury or speak negatively about it. I said something once that I said, I think he's okay, and I think he's going to be good. And they came out and said, no, that's not the case.
Do you think he'll fight again?
I do. Well, you know, he's still dealing with whatever's going on with his eyes. But if you ask me, sitting right here, right now, do I think Tom
Max
Aspinall
Holloway
will
just
compete
made
again?
it clear he'd prefer a rematch
yes.
with Ilia Topuria over Justin Gaethje, saying Topuria is the first man to do what he did to him, knock him out at UFC 308, and no one else has managed that, so he has to get that one back. Max has been vocal about the loss being a driving force, even hinting in past interviews that a rematch could happen at welterweight for added stakes. At the same time, Holloway joined Israel Adesanya in calling for better pay in the UFC after Zuffa Boxing signed Conor Benn for $15 million for a one-fight deal. Max urged fighters to know their worth and stick together, pointing to a 2021 example where John Jones demanded $10 million to fight Francis Ngannou, but the UFC refused. Derek Lewis then offered to step in for $1 million, undercutting Jones. Max said fighters should have backed Jones instead, arguing that higher pay for top guys raises the floor for everyone, base pay, bonuses, everything. He sees the new Paramount deal as the perfect moment for fighters to demand a fairer share of the revenue, especially when boxing crossovers get huge purses, while UFC athletes face higher risks and tougher camps for less guaranteed money.
If I had my choice, I want to rematch Ilia, 100%. You know, he did what he's the first man that did what he did to me, and no one else could. So I gotta get that one back. You know, me and Gaethje have history, and I know Gaethje want to get that one back. That'd be a fun fight also. But hey, may the best man win, and we see. And hopefully, fighters can start getting together, being smart. And one time, it's always gonna stick out to my mind was when I love Derek Lewis, man. He's a man. But when John Jones said, oh, I'll fight Francis, I think so. He's like, give me $10 million or whatever it was. And UFC said, hell no, we're not paying you that, right? Derek Lewis, I believe, was ranked at the time. And he said, what? John will do this for 10. Give me a meal, I'll fight Francis now. It's like, man, we cannot be doing that, brother. You need to be like, yeah, John. You know, you needed to almost stand in John's corner, be like, yeah, John, you deserve 10. Go get that 10. Because guess what? If you fighting for 10, then it looks like your base pay probably comes up too, you know what I mean?
Ariel Helwani just broke the silence on the major news that UFC heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall has signed a commercial and advisory deal with Eddie Hearn's newly launched Matchroom talent agency. Ariel unveiled the private text messages he had with Eddie Hearn and Tom Aspinall, revealing details that had never been seen before. He made it clear Tom will not be fighting under Eddie Hearn in any boxing capacity. He remains fully committed to the UFC and will continue competing in the Octagon. Instead, Hearn and his team will represent Aspinall for business dealings inside and outside of fighting, handling commercial opportunities, brand building, negotiations, and advisory services, while Aspinall keeps his existing media and management setup for core UFC matters. This move comes amid growing tensions between Hearn and Dana White, and Tom has never had professional management before. His father has handled things informally. Helwani emphasized it's not a departure from the UFC. Aspinall still has fights left on his contract and is as the heavyweight champion. Eddie convinced him after many other managers tried and failed, seeing Aspinall as one of the biggest stars in combat sports who deserves better representation to maximize his value. Let's dive into Helwani unveiling those private conversations.
And I've been going back and forth with Eddie for the last 2 days. I wanted to have him on. He's like, I'm going to have a lot to talk about. And I was like, oh yeah, what? And he goes, oh, you haven't seen? And he sends me the Instagram post of him and Tom cheesing it up. And I was like, what? Holy shit, man. So then I text Tom and I was like, hey, Tom, how are you? He writes back, sorry, mate. You have to go through Eddie now. Like, you canna piss. You canna piss. So then I go back to Eddie and I get the lowdown on all this. Tom Aspinall has signed with Eddie Hearn to be his new advisor, as I just tweeted, and will handle his business dealings in and out of the Octagon. When I started speaking to Tom, I found a guy, this is a quote from Eddie, that was removed of his mojo. I told him to get your head up. You are the UFC heavyweight champ and one of the biggest stars in combat sport. Let's go and get what's fucking yours.
Dana White also threw down a challenge to Eddie Hearn, saying he'd be down to box him if Hearn wants to throw hands.
Listen, if Eddie wants to box, we can box. We can box if Eddie wants to box. I don't think Eddie wants to box.
Kamaru Usman just broke down the upcoming middleweight clash between Caio Borralho and Reinier de Ridder at UFC 326, expressing surprise that Caio is such a heavy favorite going in. Usman noted that oddsmakers have the Brazilian as a strong favorite, but he thinks it's closer than that, giving RDR a real shot to bounce back. He highlighted de Ridder's previous struggles, pointing out that Reinier's tough 2025 run included multiple brutal weight cuts in a short span, 5 fights in 11 months with repeated extreme cuts to 185 pounds, which likely contributed to his loss in Vancouver and left him feeling far from 100%. Kamaru believes those grueling cuts and overtraining took a toll on de Ridder's body and performance, making his recent setbacks more understandable. Meanwhile, Caio is coming off a tough unanimous decision loss to Nasruddin Imavov, which snapped his 7-fight UFC win streak and dropped him from contender talk. Still, he's known for his well-rounded game, composure under pressure, and finishing ability, and Usman believes this fight against RDR is a must-win reset for him. Get back in the win column and climb toward the top again in a stacked middleweight division that's still waiting for Chimaev's first title defense.
It's a really, really good fight. Both guys are kind of in the same spot right now. They were at one point really a fight away from potentially sliding into title picture and talks. And unfortunately, both coming off of their last loss, and both kind of lost kind of similarly. Of course, RDR was a little more intriguing because we didn't know whether that loss was due to the activity, the frequent activity, or if it was due to the fact that my man was cutting a ton of weight, from what I heard. We didn't know what that looked like. It just looked like he was overly exhausted, something that we've never really seen before. With Borralho, it just, in that last one, it was just a full breakdown. It looked like Nasruddin Imavov had him figured out. Nasruddin pressured him, couldn't really let him get those level changes off to try to get in a good shot and a good attack, to where it just looked like Borralho was broken down and couldn't